Yo, the Letsyn here. Today I'm teaching you how to create UK garage. Grab this project from my Patreon link, click here for my academy if you want to learn more about music production, but right now let's jump into it. Okay, so let's start with a very basic beat. Put a grain delay on the go snares. That's what you can hear between the hits, but let's add some more open hi-hat. Now a very important rule is to put a swing on it, like a groove from the groove pool, and I chose the swing note 8 or 16E, because without that, horrible. But with some nice swing that you must apply on the basses and the synths too, everything comes to life. Okay, so let's talk about how to build up a nice instrumental for this garage beat. I always like to start with a downbeat synth. This is what I like to follow with my drum and bass production too. I always like to start with something very characteristic on the very first hit on the downbeat and then start something. So let's call this character downbeat. So something like wow, dun 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 boom 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 boom. But if it's too long, it can easily go very boring. So this is where I like to play with call and response. Make it half as long, bam, 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 and then add something as a response. And then you can double it. And again, make the response half as long, call it response B. So you don't need to always follow this rule or this layout. You can mess it up or just, play with it. But it can be helpful if you can see and visualize what you want to do. Okay, now let's talk about the basses. Let's say you have a really nice bass loop. Let's drop the drums over it. Okay, this is a nice sound. It's not even that complicated. As you can see, I'm using a sine with 2.5 octaves higher sine, but the magic is happening with the distortion. So with some distortion and some equalizing, and an OTT, and a little low pass to have some movement before the distortion. And only envelope 1 is modulating everything. So I'm not going to use it as it is, but I want to create some variations for this. And a very nice tool to create some cool variations is parameter rotation max for live device. If you go inside the MIDI clip, select it, and for example rotate pitch, as you can see it flips the pitch. But if you just select a range, you can do that too. So you can totally mess up your arrangement or your MIDI clip that you just created. You can rotate the duration, just creating some nice variations for your MIDI. So right now, this is how it sounds. This is a very enough thing, but you get the idea and you can create really nice variations. Okay, so that's why I created this one. Again, the serum preset is super simple. This time I saw with a 2.5 octave higher sine wave, with the same filter movement, the same distortion, and almost the same equalization. But it creates a really nice variation from the original bass. But there is important to put the LPF here to filter the saw a little bit. Okay, so I have this one. Here only the MIDI is different, but I open up the filter a little more. I also have this one. The trick here is to apply a huge pitch envelope on the beginning of the sound. This time the sound source is a sine wave that I modulate, FM modulate, with a 1 octave higher square wave. So envelope 2 applies the chords pitch and some filter movement to have a little brighter attack only on the beginning of the sound or on the transient. But again, the distortion is key with some equalization. There's too much mid-low mod here, that's why I apply the equalization, but on the attack of the sound I wanted to have huge mid-lows, so like really strong attack, a punch sound. But as you can see, it is super simple again, and I have the same sound but with filtered a little more. But the point here is that the MIDI contains a lot more hit, a lot more notes. Okay, so once you set up everything, you can just bounce them into audio, into new take lanes. So every preset has its own lane. As you can see, I have 5 different lanes, and you can start comping using this pencil icon. So you can just go here and select your favorite parts. Now I have already done that, so I don't need to work on this more, but basically the bass loop sounds like this now. So as you can hear and see, I left the downbeat part empty, and then the bass comes in. And here the response. So we have the downbeat thing, then the call, and the response here. Even the bass plays some response too, and this is a super cool technique because in the next part, so this range here, you can have different bass sound as a response that you can top up or layer it with synths too. So this fast rhythm of the bass here is basically the response. Bum 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 dun 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 dun. I bet you get the idea. So that's how I build up this beat. So as I told you before, we need something as a downbeat, but a super simple synth can work well. So that's why I came up with this sound. Nice and vintage sound, simply because of the choruses. Now the serum preset is super simple, as you can see, it's just a saw wave with some noise. The noise is actually important. This is what creates the fatness to the sound, and this LFO basically just shapes the volume of the sound. Some filtering, compression, distortion, a little equalization, and a little boost at around 1.2K. Nice analog vintage sound. Okay, so this is what we are having now. So we need the response. You can use whatever chord, basically. We are in E minor, but the point here is basically the groove. So the groove is a lot more important. You can play with the chords, you can play with the melody, but if you don't have the groove, the UK garage style just falls over. So I dropped this cool little sound here. And the point here is to have little sine waves with lots of equalization, little noises to shape your own flavor from these sine waves. So that's why I'm having 2 sine waves with the synchronization mode turned up like randomly. So if you are wondering, only one oscillator is just not enough. We need a little different one to have some more fatness. But the bandpass filter is what really creates the frequency peak, so with this we are focusing more on the lower mid-range. Okay, again, very important part is the distortion. And as I said you before, with some EQs and filters, to have the sound sources as plasticity, you know, to form our own different flavors out of them. So with lots of filters, lots of EQ peaks and notches, you can create your own flavor, and I love it. You can even build a groove by simply just turning the EQ on and off. And another EQ. Okay, so now this is what we are having. And as you can see, we need a different hit right after the downbeat one. So this is what I made. Now the process is the same basically. Right now I went with a PVM sound, with a bandpass filter, and the same process. Distortion with huge peak and some EQing and compression. So if you want to grab this old vintage sound, you have to play a lot with equalizations and noises. Okay, so this is what we're having now. Okay, so if you remember, at the second part, we definitely wanted to replace the response with something. So we cut it in half and replaced the second part with something. And this is why I created this sound. Now it creates an awesome rhythm with the bass. And if you can measure the synths and the basses together in a way that the listener can't really decide if it is the same sound 1 octave or 2 octaves higher, you want a game. And this is what is happening here. Again, super simple sound, a square wave with 1 octave and 8 semitones higher sine wave, FM modulated, with low pass filter movement, with some EQ, and that's all. So finally we made this beat. Right, so grab this project from my Patreon below where you can find the Serum 2 preset pack, and click here for my academy if you want to learn a lot more about music production. See you guys next time. Peace!